of fruit. If you look at the table, we have two apparatus on those two tables, which is going to talk about food tests, the three types of food: protein, carbohydrates, or starch, and then fats. We are going to test them. And then secondly, we are also going to discuss about these fruits, which I have just displayed on the table here. So to start with, already we have learned about food tests. The first test is test for carbohydrate. And to test for carbohydrate, we are going to do it there. We are going to take the food mixture, because in that food mixture, three basic foods are added. We have carbohydrate food, which is, for example, cassava solution. Then two, we also have milk. And then three, we have granule oil. Granule oil is fat. The milk is what? Protein. So three food substances are mixed together. So we have a food mixture there. And then we have to use three reagents. We have to use the copper 2 sulfate to test for the protein together with the sodium hydroxide. And then we have to use the iodine to test for the presence of starch. Then for the other one, which is the test for carbohydrate, we are simply going to take the food mixture and rub it on a paper and then put it beside the window or any source of light. This is to test for carbohydrate. Who can test for carbohydrate, please? So take some and drop it there. Just dip it in. So in this case, he is trying to take some sample of the food mixture, and then he will drop it on what we call white tile. After dropping on a white tile, then he will use this other dropper, and so just take this one, take the second one. So this time he is taking from the iodine solution, and then he will drop few drops of it, few drops. As the drops are going down, the food mixture will become blue-black color. Blue-black color is seen. So that blue-black color indicates that in that food mixture, carbohydrate was present, or starch was present. So starch was among those food substances that were mixed in this food mixture we have here, food mixture. Then next, we have what we call the test for protein. Now, test for protein, there are three types, or three tests of protein, but we are only trying to demonstrate one test of protein, and that's the Burette test. Now, to test for protein, what we need to do is we need to use this one, which is called the pipette, and then we pipette 2 centimeter cube of it. Now, having done that, we'll drop it in a test tube. And after dropping it in a test tube, then the next thing is we are to use this solution, which is called the sodium hydroxide solution. We have to use the pipette again. By washing the pipette, we use this same pipette and pipette 1 centimeter cube of that solution. Having pipette 1 centimeter cube of it, we'll drop it in this mixture. And having dropped it there in the test tube, we have to shake the test tube and then put it under the burette. Okay? So meaning we have to adjust this burette up. So when we put it under the burette, then we open the burette and we'll shake it. As the mixture is coming down, then we are going to see what we call purple color. Light blue will be formed in that food mixture. And that also testifies that protein is present. Protein is one of those materials present in the food mixture. So that's how we test for protein. That's one example of testing for protein. Then the third test for food substances is what we call test for fat. Test for fat. That one is very simple. What we need to do is we take the food mixture and rub it on a paper. And having rubbed it on a paper, we place the paper beside a source of light. And then when you place it beside a source of light, some amount of light will pass through, but not plenty. So in other words, because of oil or fat is present in that food substance here, oil or fat is present. If you look at it, there is some oil on top. And oil is less denser than the other substance. That is why it is floating up. So because oil is present, so when you look at or when you place the paper out, beside the source of light, then it will show what we call translucent object. And translucent simply, these are objects that some light will pass through, but not enough. While transparent objects are objects that light can penetrate easily. And the Last one is what you call opaque object. Opaque objects are objects that light cannot pass through, like the wood, for instance. So when you see translucent object, it indicates that fat is present. Fat. And fat, an example of fat is oil. Groundnut oil or palm oil or butter or whatsoever, or mayonnaise. These are all fatty substances. Okay? So that is what we need to do. So can somebody volunteer to do the test for protein? Now. 2 centimeter cube. Observe. 2 centimeter cube. Only 2 centimeter cube. Okay, go up to 7. So now he has moved from here to here. So meaning 2 centimeter cube has been dropped in the test tube. Then the next thing is drop the liquid. Can we have another? Please, can I get a container there with some water so that we can clean up the bread? We have only one here. Or we can use that other one. Okay, let us use that other one. So, use this one. No, don't mind. Use this one. Now, keep it with your mouth. Okay, it's okay. Press. Now drop it on up to a figure. Press. Okay, good. Now drop 1 centimeter cube of it. Drop 1 centimeter cube of it. Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Good. Next, shake the mixture. Shake the mixture. Put it under the bread and open that. Hey, slow. Drop by drop. Drop by drop. Drop by drop. Is it coming down? Drop by drop. When you see the light blue, yes, it's okay. So light blue is formed, and that's what we call the purple color. Purple color is seen, and that indicates that protein is present in the food mixture. And the protein food that I added in this food mixture was milk. So milk, therefore, is a protein food substance. So unfortunately, because of time factor, we may not be able to demonstrate the control experiment, because any experiment, we need to have the experimental group and the control group. Abdul F. Boy. I'm the biology and agricultural science teacher. I'm also the senior master in charge of the science department in Hermitage Senior Secondary School.
Okay. So can you tell us what you need as a science teacher? What do you need to effectively teach science as a subject? What do you need?
Well, our needs are many, but one of our needs is motivation, because when we are motivated, that will make us to love the job, and then we would like to deliver to our level best. So motivation is one of the things, and then secondly, like good accommodation is another thing that we also need. And definitely, I want to thank the government, because the government has done a lot for this school. Looking at the infrastructure, we are all having quarters. We are all living in quarters, and we're living very fine.
Okay. But what are some of the things, maybe prerequisite materials that you need to enable you as a teacher to effectively teach the subject to the understanding, to the enhanced understanding of the students?
Well, for that of science, we need a lot of materials, but at times we sometimes face some constraints, especially financial constraints, because like sometimes, of course, the admin is doing their level best. They are supplying us with all the necessary material.
So specifically, what are those materials that you need? Maybe materials that you don't get, but you need them to teach. Obviously, they're very important in teaching the subject, but they're not available.
Now, for that of, like when I come into biology, we need certain materials like reagents. Reagents are very expensive. I could remember last year during the WAS practical, there was a day when I was sent to buy some reagents for chemistry practical. But to my surprise, it was very, very, very expensive. You see, reagent is number one constraint. And then another thing is there are certain apparatus too that we might which we don't have in abundance. We have some of them, but they are not in abundance. Okay, and then if you come to agri-science too, like that of the agri-practical, there are certain, garden tools that we also need to use to demonstrate. You see, but those things again, of course, we were having plenty of them, but again, the way or the manner in which the students use these tools at times is very funny. At times they just use them, and after that they will just throw them away, or they will spoil them. And that is why we are having a problem of garden tools now.
Okay. So, but there is this general, almost a concession among students, a general fear among students that besides mathematics, science is another subject that is quite difficult to offer. That's kind of dissuading a lot of them from offering science as a subject of specialty. So, what's your take on that? Do you as a science teacher, do you uphold the notion? Do you throw your weight behind the notion that science is a difficult area for a specialization? That's why students are being scared away from the field. What's your take on that? Do you agree with the general notion that science is difficult?
No, I don't agree. Well, science is very simple. Initially, when I was in middle school, I don't know what was science and what was other subjects like arts or whatsoever. But I just went into it. It's just determination. When you have the determination, actually at the end of the day, you will reap your benefit. So it's just based on determination. There's no subject which is difficult. It's based on studying, working hard, and then at the end of the day, it will become something great.
Okay. Yeah, but sometimes you ask some students, just random selection. You ask some students, well, what do you want to be? They'll say, I want to be a pilot. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a surgeon, like someone told me. But a majority of them ask them to go in for science. They will say, oh, well, science is difficult. I'm not going in for science. So that explains how abstract it could be, particularly to students, that they're offering science, but they don't, in fact, know the importance of science. So can you tell us what importance is it for someone to specialize in biology or in chemistry? Because you need to know what prospects, what prospect does it hold for you in terms of your professional career and future. So can you tell us what are some of the areas that you can't just go into without studying science?
Well, there are a lot of areas that one can venture into if you study biology, for instance. Among those areas include, like, for example, nursing. You cannot go in for nursing without having a background in science. And under science, you must do biology. If you are not a science student, then you have to do general science, which is also having the elementary aspect of biology and physics and chemistry. So again, if you want to go in for other areas like veterinary or horticulture or even farming, you need to do some science or biology. Okay, and then again, if you want to go for medicine to become a doctor, the same thing. Okay, and then if you want to have knowledge of, let's say, computer or IT, you need to be good in science and mathematics. Okay, you need to have some background. So with science, there are a lot of doors open. There are a lot of doors open.
Viewers, you're watching the Gambia Radio and Television Services, and this is Education Forum. Like we've explained to you at the start of the program, that Education Forum is looking at the teaching and learning of science, particularly in our schools. And with that, we mean we out to see what are some of the resources that are available or that are at the disposal of the school, particularly the teachers and students, that can enhance the understanding and the teaching of science as a subject. You've heard us speak to some of the teachers as well, who have told us that to a great extent, the availability of teaching materials is really very important. That the science laboratory needs to be stocked with the requisite apparatus that are needed to enhance the teaching and understanding of students in terms of any topic that they are treating. And then here we have our students who are tirelessly working on a particular practical. So we have a student sitting by our side here that we're going to ask first his name, and he'll be telling us what they're trying to prove, and then what are some of the materials that they need to prove that. So can you please tell us your name?
I am Suleiman Keda of 12 Science AM. We are now having